Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about a game called Fallen Legion, and it's Fallen Legion Rise to Glory, which is basically the Nintendo Switch release of Fallen Region, not Fallen Region, Fallen Legion, Sins of an Empire, and Fallen Legion, Flames of Rebellion. These are games that originally came out, I believe, on PS4 and Xbox and PC. And now they've been brought to Switch, and they've kind of combined all of the DLC or all of both games into one. And I will say this: when I first started playing the game, I didn't get the best impression of it, but the longer that I played, the more I enjoyed it. Now, I don't want to call this a review as per se, because I feel like I've barely scratched the surface of the game, and I've got a lot more to play. But right now, I'm completely distracted with. I've got other games that I have to review. I've got Hyrule Warriors that I've been playing a bunch of. I'm a teacher. It's the end of the school year. I've got a lot of work there to do as well, and so I wanted to be able to give my initial thoughts about Fallen Legion Rise to Glory. A couple of things that they also in the Nintendo Switch version, they also added 5 playable characters. They have new stories and stuff like that. And they also have Japanese voiceovers, which I tend to like. For the most part, whenever I play Japanese games, and I feel like they do a good job with the Japanese voiceover. Not that I speak Japanese, I think it sounds better than the English voiceovers. Most of the time I hear the English voiceovers and I'm like, it's kind of cringy. I don't really like it. So I switched it off from English over to Japanese, and I think it's a better experience myself. They added a new mode where you only get one life, which is very interesting. I did that in my first look video, which you can also find here on the channel. But let me talk about what this game is. It's a strategy game first and foremost, but when you first start playing, it doesn't feel like a strategy game. It feels a lot more like a button masher where you are constantly mashing these buttons. So let me describe how the gameplay works so that you can understand a little bit better. You play you have 2 characters that you can choose from at the beginning. I believe her name is Cecile, and she is like an emperor who is, trying to fight back against somebody who's trying to steal the empire from her. And she has a talking book, which is the reason that I chose her as the character. I saw the talking book and I thought, well, that's going to be kind of cool. And she has the ability to summon exemplars. And what exemplars are the personification of weapons. So, think of a great sword and shield. And rather than just having the sword and shield fight like floating out in space in front of her, she summons her idea or her memory of somebody who is really famous for using the sword and shield in a spectacular fashion. And so you, at any time, you can have 3 exemplars on the battlefield with you, and you can pick and choose from a set of exemplars. So maybe you want to go with a guy with a sword and shield, like I said before, and somebody with a bow and somebody with a gun, or I always tend to go with the sword and shield guy. Maybe I replace the person with the bow with the guy with a hammer, or the person with the gun with somebody with like a lance, like a dragoon. And you control those characters by pushing. I'm looking for my controller here. The Y, the B, and the A buttons. So they're mapped to the bottom buttons on the face buttons of your controller, and you can cast spells by using the X button. So you generate mana by attacking with your exemplars. Then you use the mana in order to cast spells. And you have 3 spells. You have a attack spell, you've got a healing spell, and a resurrection spell. So if one of your exemplars gets killed in battle, you can bring them back using your resurrection spell. And that's the basics of how the game works. And at the very beginning, I was just mashing buttons trying to figure out, because you've got a combo bar along the bottom, and you want to try and fill that up. Because if you get to the end, every exemplar has a special attack. And if you get them to attack at the end of the combo bar, it will trigger their special attack. Now, you can also trigger their special attack by holding down the right trigger and pressing the exemplars button. So you might wonder, well, why would you ever worry about getting to the end of the combo thing when you can always just trigger it yourself? And this is where the complexity of the game starts to come into play. How do I put it? Each of the exemplars has 3 action points that they can use. And so if you attack, you use up one of your action points. So if you pull the trigger and attack to do your special move without getting to the end, I think it's called a link something. Let me just scroll down here in my list here and see what a link attack. Yeah. If you trigger your link attack manually by pulling the trigger, it uses all 3 of your action points. However, if you just do your regular combos and you get to the end of the combo meter, it triggers that link attack through the death blow, which is the little blue flame at the end. So you want to try and manage your exemplars so that this one is recharging their action points while these 2 are attacking, and it's really a lot of fun. And once you get that down, there's another layer that's on top of it, and that's that the enemies are attacking you back, and you have to be able to block them. You block them with the L button on your controller, and if you block, you get extra action points. So it really comes down to this cool balance where you've got an incoming attack and you've got to be able to block it. You get the extra action points. You kind of spam a bunch of abilities real quick to get up to that end of the combo bar and attack back. And by every time you attack with your exemplars, your mage, the Cecilia person that I was talking about before, they are building up mana. And so they can use it, like I said before, either to resurrect, heal, or do damage. And it makes for some really fun moments. I think the moment-to-moment gameplay is really good. One complaint that I have about it, though, is the animations of the enemies are really hard to predict for some enemies, like when they're going to attack. And I think this is something that I'll only get better at with time. What I would prefer, and maybe if they could lower the difficulty on this or something like that, but what I would really prefer is if there was like a flash on the screen, and when I see that flash, I know, okay, I need to block now. I think that would be really useful, especially because sometimes I've got, a couple of my exemplars are doing an attack against the enemy, and there's all these special effects going off, and I can't really see if that enemy has raised their sword up or if they're about to swing it forward, so I don't know to block at that exact time. And like I said, that might be something I just get used to with time, and who knows. The story, actually, I don't want to get to the story yet. The next thing I want to talk about is in between the battles. So, you fight some dudes, and then your characters, they start to walk from left to right across the screen. And then there'll be like a little call out that pops up on the screen. It'll be like, there's rioting in the streets of this place because they don't have enough food. And then it'll put 3 choices on the screen that you have to decide between. Are you going to send them more food? Are you going to send in the, some muscle to stop them from rioting? Are you going to put spies out there to try and quell that rioting from within? And depending on what you choose, there's multiple effects. One effect might be that maybe your sword and shield guy, my favorite guy, maybe he will have a bonus to his defense. And so you look at those things, but at the same time, there's a second effect, and that has to do with the morale of your empire. And if you do things that are I guess maybe shady is the way to put it. If you do things that are kind of shady, then the morale of your empire is going to go down. Now, why do you care about that? Because between fights, when that choice comes up, after you pick whatever choice you pick, you get healed based on how much morale the empire currently has. So if their empire has really low morale, then you won't be healed as much. And every once in a while, if you're doing a good job, if you're choosing the right things, like if you are being a good leader and not just choosing in the moment, this is what's best for me in this combat situation. If you're looking at the big picture, then as you run across the battlefield, every once in a while, somebody will stop and they'll say, hey, we really like the way that you're running things. And then bam, you'll get like a bonus. Maybe you'll get an item that you can use that can save your skin mid battle, or maybe you can get extra healing, or maybe they'll just say, hey, all your mana is refilled. Thank you. And that adds at first I thought that I would get annoyed by these little pop-ups and making this choice, but I almost felt like I started to look forward to them. And they kind of remind me of this game I saw on iOS once, and I know it's also coming to the Switch, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's this game where you are like a king or a queen, and people will come and they will give you a quest, and you choose to either accept the quest or deny the quest by swiping the quest. I can't remember what it's called, but it kind of reminds me of that. So your choices in the game, they have an effect on the overall world as well as the moment-to-moment battles. And I'm really enjoying it. Like I said before, there's 2 characters, and I'm not sure if once I finish it, because in the reviewer's guide, where did it say? It said, okay, it shows me how to unlock them, but it says don't tell people how to do that. So I'm not going to say how to unlock them, but there are other characters to unlock, but the 2 that you start with, I played both just a little bit, and they both played the same, but the story I'm sure is very different. I only played mostly Cecile. And her story is, at first I was like, all right, I just kind of want to get through to the gameplay just so I can see what it's like. And the more that I watched the story unfold, the more I got interested in it. And I especially like the talking book. The talking book is written incredibly well. I won't spoil anything for you, so you don't have to worry about that. But I absolutely love it, the way that the talking book is interacting with Cecilia, and they're really kind of button heads. And I feel like I know where the story's going, and if it goes the way I think it is, it's going to be really interesting. But I'm really enjoying the story, and I didn't expect that I would. In fact, I skipped a couple of cutscenes early on, and then something that I read in a cutscene, because there was a couple of cutscenes that were like really long early on, so I skipped those. And then there was a short cutscene, and I read something, and I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting. I'm going to start reading these, and it's really fun. I'm very much enjoying Fallen Legion Rise to Glory, and I would recommend it if you, I hate to say if you like button mashers, because I typically don't like button mashers, which is kind of a strange thing for me to say, because here I am playing Fallen Legion Rise to Glory and Hyrule Warriors, but those are both button mashers that at the heart of them have a tactical or strategic element that is not readily apparent just like to the outside observer. It's not really apparent until you start playing. And I feel like as you're playing the combat in Fallen Legion, and you're pushing those buttons and trying to get your exemplars to attack at just the right time, so that you get your double damage on this guy, and you get your death blow on this character, and you're blocking with this guy at just the right time. It really all kind of comes together. And, I haven't even talked about the graphics or the audio yet, so I'm going to have to do that quick because we're running up on 14 minutes already. But the graphics are fantastic. It looks like hand-drawn stuff, almost with a 3D quality to it. I can't quite put my finger on exactly what they did there, but it kind of feels 3D in some of the character models, but it also looks 2D at the same time. I really kind of painterly in the way that they've animated things. I like that a lot. The battle animations look really good. It kind of speaks to me in the way that almost like you would see paper cutouts, where they have like a little metal things at their joints, so you could pose the paper things. I would compare this very much to Has Been Heroes. I had to look over at my shelf to see what the name of the game was because I forgot. I would compare it to, as far as looks, to Has Been Heroes or Darkest Dungeon, although the gameplay is very different from both of those. And I will say this, I think the audio is really good. I think the sound effects are good. The music is very good. I'm very much enjoying both the soundtrack and the voice acting. Even though I don't understand what they're saying, I'm just enjoying the intonations and the especially that grimoire, like that talking book. He is top of the list on this. So anyway, I really have enjoyed Fallen Legion Rise to Glory so far. This is not a full review. This is just my initial thoughts on the game. I don't know if I will do a full review because it's going to take me forever to finish this game, I think. And by the time I do, most people really aren't going to care about reviews at that point anymore because the game will have been out for so long. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you didn't know, I have a podcast called Nintendo Switchcraft. You can find over at runjumpstomp.com. You can watch me record that podcast over at twitch.tv/runjumpstomp. I record on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern and on Saturdays whenever I can get around to it. If you can't watch the live show, you can watch all that stuff right here. So make sure you subscribe so that you find out when this stuff comes out. And if you want to listen to the podcast, just, again, runjumpstomp.com or look for it on your phone. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.